a moment. Oh yeah, we're good. Okay. Please remember that we are in the midst of our annual pledge drive. You should have received a request for your pledge renewal from our assistant treasurers. Please be sure and reply before May 7th. Our congregational meeting is going to be held via Zoom on May 17th following the worship service. Stay tuned for announcements about how to get connected to that as well. Finally, the Share the Plate offering for the Jerry Dolliner Food Bank has been extended for another week. This local food bank has seen high demand because of COVID-19 unemployment and needs food and funds to restock their shelves. Let us answer their call with today's offering. The Alliance will match all donations up to $500. So let's do our best to make it a round $1,000 donation. Make your checks payable to UUCOB and put Share the Plate in the memo. And thank you for your generosity. And I'm happy to say that this morning I have recorded music from Janet Strumpus. So we're going to open the service with her playing our hymn, For the Beauty of the Earth. And if we can get, yeah, there we go. The service begins with the sound of our singing bowl. Our call to worship this morning, the words of Sweet Home Teacup. May we recognize and abandon the familiar attitudes and practices that do not serve the whole. We are who we are, and we have the opportunity to be who we want to be, to create a new inheritance for the future. May our thoughts, words, and actions in our daily lives assist in dismantling paradigms of oppression and suffering. May we give thanks for our individual place in time and space, to our families and our relationships that touch and change us. May we give thanks to the wise teachers who help us remember how to be and the chance to make it so. Underneath and within the stories and histories is our humanity. Being humans means we are of this earth. We are these waters. We are fire and atmosphere. We are the sun and the moon and the stars. We are all that we see, and the wisdom is revealed by looking in between. And our chalice lighting this morning, if you would like to light a chalice along with me. I light this chalice, a single flame, which I hope kindles many hearts this morning. Let this flame unite us in virtual community.
I'll just not no place to go.
Both of us. Let's go somewhere. We can go longer.
Let this flame unite us in virtual community and remind us of each other's presence as we worship from many singular rooms. Let this flame inspire in us faith and courage to face these difficult times. Let this flame be our guide in making sense of a chaotic world, and let its light show us the way to beloved community, both near and far. And our congregational covenant. Let's say it together. Love is the spirit of this congregation, and service is our aim, to dwell together in peace and freedom, to seek the truth and to help one another. These are our goals. Now I will share the joys and concerns submitted to me this week. From Marilyn and Arden Doctor, our brother-in-law Marv died early Saturday morning. He had been suffering from what turned out to be ALS. He died peacefully with family surrounding him. Phone calls, messages, and sympathy of support are welcome by Marilyn and Arden Doctor. Dorothy Dobbins thanks everyone for the cards, messages, and phone calls of sympathy and support over the course of Walter's illness and following his death on April 16th. Plans for Walter's memorial service will be announced when it is safe to gather again at church. And from Helen Casoli, she says, I have been getting tired of all the down things we experience daily and my negative reactions to these things. So I decided to do something to counteract the gloom and bring joy into my life. I decided to focus on doing a random act of kindness every day, and it's been so much fun. Here's a few of the things that Helen has done. She left several pieces of sidewalk chalk in places in the trails where she lives so that the kids could draw on them. She said the next day the results were interesting to see. She spoke to a cranky neighbor that she'd been avoiding as she never seems to have a good word to say about anything. And with Helen's invitation, she opened like a flower. Another neighbor, I went out of my way to see, got a call, and I got a call from her 3 hours later. She had made me 2 beautiful face masks. And Helen left donuts for the trash guys. They were amazed. She says that since starting this in earnest, there has been an upwelling of synchronicity coming back to me. What if we all committed random acts of kindness 3 days a week and encouraged our friends to do the same? If you want to participate, email Helen if you want to join in that. And then finally, from Martha Sanders Brandt, it is a special joy to be at home with Dan this morning as we celebrate his 75th birthday. 75, Dan, really? Happy birthday. Enjoy the day. And now will you pray with me? Spirit of life and love, bless us this day with the understanding that joy and woe are woven fine, that whosoever brings us tears also brings us great joy, and that the hours before dawn are often the darkest. Spirit of life and love, bestow upon us the peace which passes our understanding, so that hope, faith, and love may fill our hearts and still our worrying minds. Spirit of life and love, in this difficult time, bid us to strive for our best selves each day. Let our striving be for justice, equity, and compassion in our human relations. Inspire us to create beloved community in ever-widening spheres. Spirit of life and love, we give thanks for this precious day and for all that is our life, for we know that it is a gift, freely given, unbidden, and unearned. We give joyous praise for this, our one precious life. Amen. And now our hymn number 123, Spirit of Life. The first case of COVID-19 in the United States was diagnosed on January 19th, 2020 in the state of Washington. As of March 1st, 2020, there were 30 confirmed cases in the country. On April 1st, there were 213,000 confirmed cases. And as of yesterday, April 25th, there were 907,000 confirmed cases of COVID-19 in the US. Nearly 31,000 of those cases confirmed in the state of Florida. I recall being at a faith function a month ago on March the 5th, when team members of all the congregations met to plan for the Action Assembly. Some expressed concern about the coronavirus and how it would affect the culminating event for faith at the end of March. With only 30 cases in the country, I said, it's just the flu. What are we worrying about? I would, of course, come to eat my words. What a difference 8 weeks has made with this pandemic. Our last in-person worship service was on March 15th. On March 25th, Faith canceled the Action Assembly. Governor DeSantis signed a stay-at-home order effective March 27th, and we have been sheltering in place since. Most of us are staying close to home and donning masks and gloves when we must venture out for groceries and supplies. And I'm glad to say that we have been able to continue our worship services online. I've never been more grateful for technology and the fact that for the most part, it has functioned in bringing us together on Sunday mornings, as well as other times during the week for virtual socializing, meetings, and other gatherings. Another good fortune has been your good health and that of your loved ones. There were some scares among us as 2 of our congregants whose sons were seriously ill with COVID-19 virus have since recovered. We also had another congregant who was hospitalized with pneumonia and quite ill, but is now home and recovering well. On the other hand, this month, we lost 1 member of our congregation to illness unrelated to COVID-19. And as we learned this morning, one of our member households lost a close relative to what was belatedly diagnosed as ALS. Thus it is that our good fortune and our woe are woven fine. Yet another good fortune among us is our relative comfort in being compelled to stay close to home. For the most part, we have what we need in the way of financial stability so that we remain food secure in the comforts of our homes while enjoying the distractions of screens, books, hobbies, nature, and the outdoors to keep the boredom and perhaps the fear at bay. In our relative comfort, we have found a new appreciation for life's gifts, such as birds at our feeders, neighborly neighbors, beautiful blooms, super moons, cool nights, clear blue skies, empty beaches, light traffic, blessed solitude, and quietude. These are some of the silver linings we find in the midst of crisis because we can manage our risk to some extent. We're blessed indeed, but let us also recognize that our blessings extend from our privilege and good fortune as well. As we count our blessings, let us not forget those on the front lines and those on the margins who lack the capacity to manage their risk in the face of adversity. Those on the front lines are the healthcare workers and first responders who choose to serve in professions that involve risk. The risk of exposure in treating infectious diseases. They also witness the devastation and loss that COVID-19 can leave in its wake. It must seem senseless to them at times. On the front lines also are those who work in essential services such as restaurants, grocery stores, convenience stores, gas stations, pharmacies, utilities, public works, postal workers, certain manufacturers and retailers. Those employees and business owners must leave the safety of their homes and risk getting sick in service to others. Included in that workforce are so many folks on the margins, such as those of the unskilled labor force who often live without the safety net of adequate compensation, benefits, or access to medical care. Working a high-risk job without health insurance renders a person somewhat disposable, I think. Certainly, these folks are caught between a rock and a hard place, as they can choose only between the risk of working and the risk of being unemployed. No wonder some folks are cavalier about social distancing and donning masks and gloves. They may feel fated to exposure. Until such time when people and their labor are valued in our economic system, remember to be kind, compassionate, and appreciative of the Walmart greeter, the Publix cashier, the server at the drive-through window. Treat them to random acts of kindness and lavish tips if you can. Our economic shutdown by COVID-19 has been devastating. Many small businesses will be wiped out by the long wait for an abatement of new cases or for a more permanent solution of a vaccine. Unemployment will continue to rise, while it will be increasingly difficult for laid-off workers to secure unemployment compensation. Disney World alone has furloughed 43,000 workers. And a recent Pew study showed that as of April 12th, nearly half of low-income households in the US report one or more laid off or person having taken a cut in pay. We have not begun to see the full implications of this untenable situation. At the other end of the unemployment spectrum, retirees and investors have watched in alarm the steep drop in the stock market, which has slashed the value of their portfolios. The dark clouds of economic uncertainty are frightening and oppressive for everyone. While we are all anxious to get back to work and get back to normal, we must also look at the benefits of being shut down. In Wuhan, China, the ambient noise of commerce has diminished to the point that people can hear birdsong again. And in India, the residents of the Punjab, which is right up here in this area of India, say that they can see the peaks of the Himalayas again. Because of the lockdown, air quality has improved dramatically. And you can see that the particulates in the air are represented by these orange and rust-colored areas, and that low particulates are represented by blue and white. And you can see, as of very recently, why it is that all of a sudden the folks along the Himalaya ridge here can see the mountains again. Beaches worldwide, cleared of a pervasive human presence, have seen a boon in the sea turtle population as undisturbed nests yield millions of hatchlings scrambling for the surf. This is particularly good news for us in Florida. Other delicate ecosystems are showing signs of recovery. Mother Earth is healing. But why, I wonder, does it have to be a zero-sum game? Gaia heals while humanity suffers tremendous losses. We can see that in our state alone, over 1,000 people have died from the complications of COVID-19, and nearly 5,000 people have been treated in our hospitals. We can see that across the United States, we have nearly 1 million confirmed cases of COVID-19 and over 50,000 deaths. And worldwide, 2.9 million cases of COVID-19 and 203,000 deaths. Is this zero-sum game the only possibility? Is COVID-19 a manifestation of the Earth's own immune system? And while that conjecture makes sense on a metaphorical level, it probably doesn't make much sense scientifically. The situation is too complex. There's too much we don't know about the nature and origin of viruses. We do know, however, that life on planet Earth is fragile, vulnerable, and full of risk. Yet, there are such wonders to behold in simply being alive. It is the nature of our human being to hold suffering and silver linings in tension with no satisfactory answers as to how or why we must do so. We would despair of the seeming randomness of it all, a universe disinterested in our existence. This is in part why we humans are religious, because part of our humanity is to make meaning from our lived experience. Without meaning, without some higher sense of purpose, without hope in our lives, we are lost. Viktor Frankl told us that without meaning, transcendence, and hope, he and his fellow captives would not have survived the concentration camps, the Holocaust, nor would any of us. We find ourselves now in the midst of a crisis, and while in the whirl of chaos and challenge, we do not have the benefit of hindsight, and it's not always possible to make meaning of our situation in the moment. Therefore, we must simply hold for now the both and of silver linings and suffering. We must trust that some things will become clear in time. Perhaps the path to a new way of being in relationship with each other and with our home planet will emerge before us. Perhaps insight and inspiration awaits us on the other side of this pandemic. In the meantime, we are called to heed the words of Thomas Merton, who said decades ago, quote, "You do not need to know precisely what is happening or exactly what is all going on. You do not need to know exactly where it is all going. What you need to recognize is the possibilities and challenges offered by the present moment, and to embrace them with courage, faith, and hope." End quote. Courage, faith, and hope. Let us take these spiritual values, these religious values, these transcendent ways of being in the world, let us take them into our hearts. Let us take them out into the world and be kind and compassionate to one another, for we are all sharing in this difficult time, in this time of suffering and silver linings. May it be so. As I said in the announcements, our virtual offering today, we are going to be extending the Share the Plate with the Jerry Dolliner Food Bank. I ask you to take the time after the service to write a check and mail it to UUCOB, write Share the Plate in the memo line. This is a worthwhile organization, and a reminder that Alliance will match up to $500 in donation. I thank you for your generosity. And if you would like to sing this at home twice through, I'm going to read the words. From you I receive, and to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. May it be so. Too soon, we extinguish our chalice. We can say the words together. Extinguish your chalice at home if you have one lit. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And once again, recording from Janet Strumpus, the work Anthem by Susan Ciani. Our benediction, the words of Cynthia Landrum. We leave this gathered community, but we don't leave our connection, our concerns, our care for each other. Our service to each other, to the world, and to our faith continues until we are together again, friends. Be strong, be well, be loving, and go in peace. Thank you so much for being here today. And now we are going to unmute everybody and have a virtual coffee and fellowship. And I want to, I think they just disappeared. They just left the meeting, but my sister Yvonne and her husband, oh, there they are. Carl and Yvonne Hawkeiser. This is my sister and brother-in-law.
Oh, there they are.
Welcome. Thanks for being here.
Hey,
Welcome.
Welcome.
how you doing?
Welcome.
So how's everybody today?
Doing pretty well. It's getting kind of a long process, though.
I'm wearing this necktie to honor Dr. Robert Palmer, who I hope is watching today, but we miss him.
Where are you?
Thank you, John.
It's upside down.
Look at
Curly,
Curly.
it's upside down.
You're upside down.
Hi, guys.
Tracy.
It was upside down?
Kirtland, upside
Hi,
down.
Harry.
Yeah.
Curlin, why are you upside down?
Kirtland's always been a little upside down.
Works for me.
That's a new trick.
Hey, Dorothy.
Phil, it's wonderful to see you. Hello, Phil.
Oh, thanks. Wonderful to see all of you.
So good to see you.
You got it muted.
That tie.
Let's see. There it is.
Very
John and Barbara, I see you.
Oh, you can see us?
Oh, good.
Oh, okay.
Good, Janet Tracy. Hi, Helen.
Oh.
Barbara, Larry.
Thank you. Joanne, thank you.
You don't care. Where's the birthday boy? Did he leave? No, there they are.
There he is.
Hi, Cliff.
Helen, what a
Namaste.
great idea. Helen, what a
Good.
great idea.
Are you gonna join?
Yeah, sure.
Good.
Makes all kinds of sense.
Let's share on Fridays what we
I
do.
thought of it.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
I hear you, Terry.
Hi, Barbara
Hi,
and John.
Terry.
Hi.
Uh-huh. Oh, hi. Hi, Terry.
Hi, Terry.
Beautiful.
Hi, Linda.
I want to see the tie.
Tracy.
Frozen.
There's the tie.
And this is from
Hi, Terry.
Linda
Hi,
Clay.
Kaya.
So what's on the tie? It's too small to see.
Your necklace.
Oh, it's
Oh, I
just
see.
See
a
this?
minute. It's the Tasmanian devil.
That matches. That's good.
Oh, no. Hi, Cliff. Happy
bird.
birthday.
There's Ludi and Steve.
John,
Yeah.
Susan.
Ludi's got Steve with
Here
him.
it's
Yeah, you look great.
John Sandberg, are you saying that Bob Palmer is the Tasmanian devil?
Oh, no, but we just like to have necktie competitions, and he always wins, so that's all.
I can see Robert on there.
That's bad.
Oh.
Oh, I see myself.
Oh, that's.
How do I have to hook push here? Hello.
You know, I was thinking this is
Hi,
so much
Beth.
easier than coffee hour where we have to run around looking for each other.
Let's have a virtual
See each
coffee
other all
hour.
at one time.
Hi. Oh, there. It's Terry. Hi, Terry.
Hi, who's that? Who's that?
I hear Bob.
Bob Palmer.
I don't know how to get the picture up. I don't know how you can see me. What do I have to do?
You go to that video camera.
I have the start video.
I
Look
bet.
at the
Hit
camera,
that. Start
the
video.
screen.
Start video, yeah.
On mine, if you hover,
Your
if you
voice.
hover on the left side,
Larry.
lower, you should see a microphone, I'm sorry, a video camera, and you can
I do.
click on that.
The start video, but it's got line through it.
I'd like to see Jeannie
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, just click on
I
it.
don't
Click
think
on
it's-
it. It has a
Click
line.
on it and the line will go away.
Yeah.
Oh,
just
it doesn't go away.
It'll go away.
Ah.
It doesn't go away.
Miss Jonna.
Flip, doing.
Patty Tugas. Is Patty Tugas any? Oh, there she is. But she's not on. But she's on. Hi, Patty.
on.
Hi.
There we go.
Hi.
Hi,
Patty, are you camera
That-
shy?
Oh, here.
It's muted. Patty, don't be muted.
Hey, everybody.
There.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Dorothy.
Betsy.
Dorothy, hi.
Said that.
Hi, Ludi.
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
Is everybody seeing everybody?
No.
Not
everybody.
Yeah.
Be two screens.
There are 2 pages.
Two screens and 2 little arrows right in the middle, on the
Yeah.
side.
It says
Go back and forth.
Happy birthday, Dan.
That probably depends on the device you're using.
Yeah, that's true.
Come on, Bob, define your.
Hi, Reinhold.
2 of 2. There
Hey,
we go.
You're called Galaxy S8?
no, that's the name of my phone, and I'm
Yes.
hiding behind that name.
Yes. It's interesting to see some of the names.
That's from us.
Dan Gribben, in your honor, I saw 2 painted buntings in my backyard.
Oh, we had them in our yard as well.
Carolyn did too.
And I've got them as well. 2 pairs.
Wow. Carolyn had indigo buntings too.
Oh,
And we had royal
indigo blue?
Yes,
beautiful.
I'll send
you a picture.
And
Wow.
Dan, we had killdeer with little tiny fluffy babies with little bitty long legs giving us the dickens when we were taking our walk last night and doing her tail thing.
Yeah.
Really beautiful. They look like walking fuzzballs. They're so cute. So
Aw.
Dan, we saw mockingbird, cardinal, blue jay, and of course the egrets.
More this year than ever.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wonderful.
Well, I had some lizards mating on my statue in my garden. They were engaged for quite a while.
Daya and Kirtland, I'm enjoying your tales of your birds coming in the back and they're communicating and the poor little cormorant that was friends. It's a nice little bird story. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
We think we had a bald eagle on the dock next to us yesterday.
Oh,
and,
wow.
Would be.
there was another smaller bird that kept coming by and trying to annoy it, but it wasn't very successful. The eagle wasn't frightened.
John, I think that was your reflection in the water.
Oh, good one.
Bald eagle?
It's amazing what you see when you're in isolation.
I shouldn't have said that.
Hi, Cliff.
Hi.
How are you?
Good, good, good. I'm gonna leave now.
Good. I miss everybody.
Bye, Phil.
Hi, Phil.
Hi, Sue.
Hey.
Hi, Phil.
Bye-bye.
Discussion group.
Hi, Phil.
So the topic,
I just say
Hi,
something?
Phil.
What is the topic, Phil? What is the topic?
Well, we can go back to the old way of selecting the topic on the day of the discussion. Failing that, I suggest coronavirus and me.
Can I make a suggestion?
Coronavirus and me. Huh?
Just talking about Sweden. I want to talk about Sweden a little bit and what they're doing and if it makes kind of sense.
Well, maybe we can take it.
Oh, is the topic Sweden?
No, not necessarily.
It's about the whole
Coronavirus
hoarding
and me.
immunity. Yeah.
Hi, Bev.
Hi.
If we
Kinda
talk
hard to
about,
select over this. Let's do it by email.
So what is the topic?
It hasn't been decided
Coronavirus.
yet.
Of course.
What else? Susan, what else?
Phil, I think you suggested the coronavirus and me, right? That's what you suggested?
Yes, but it's up to the group, not to me.
Okay. Are you going to send us all emails?
Yeah, I'll try to do that. We can kind of work out a topic.
thanks for doing this.
Yeah.
You can really.
What time?
Thank Kate too.
Same time.
9:15.
Maybe we don't even need a topic. Maybe we could just talk about what we're doing in our quarantine.
Well, could be, that's coronavirus.
Linda.
Yeah, that
Okay, folks, I'm gonna leave now. Thanks.
Bye, Phil. What's that kitty's name?
Oh, this is
Linda?
Kitty Cat.
Oh, Kitty Cat.
Her
Very
official name,
ingenious.
her official name is Natalie because Natalie Williamson gave it
Hi,
to me.
Natalie.
She seems very compliant.
I know.
She's very affectionate. She likes to be in my lap all the time.
Linda, is that officially a calico cat?
Yes.
Yvonne, it's so good to see you.
Hi, Linda.
Hi, Marge.
Oh,
Hi, Kathy.
Hi,
How you
Kathy.
doing?
All right.
Everybody looks so good.
How do you get on the
Everybody,
screen?
hi. No more.
Helen Casoli, I appreciate your idea, Helen, of the random acts of kindness. If you think of any more small things we can do, like I hadn't thought about donuts or something for the garbage guys, something that we could do from our homes or in our neighborhoods. Could you do like an email out of ideas that you get or things that you know that work? Or anybody just to put it.
I was hoping we would share ideas, but
Common areas for that?
Susan, since I told Kathy, I gave a bag of popcorn to the FedEx guy, and he was he was so excited. He said, "I love this stuff." You know,
What's a good idea if anybody's looking for one? We have a lot of kids in our neighborhood, and
Be nice to leave something for your mailman too, because
and our neighbors put
that's
in.
tomorrow. Linda, that's tomorrow.
You know,
Something to you
can I
tomorrow.
talk?
Just go ahead.
We built a bridge for the mailman, so a concrete bridge, so he could walk from neighbor to neighbor instead of walking down our driveway or driving down the driveway, because our driveway is like 400 feet at least.
Pretty long, yeah.
Which is good because Cliff said when I bought at the market that he'd do our driveway. And anyway, so he doesn't, he just gets out, he stops at our house and he walks over the bridge, and then he walks over the bridge to the next house, and that's what we did. And John
Built a
does
bridge.
with the one we made out of concrete that connects our houses together.
Okay.
Sidewalks.
It's like a sidewalk that goes from my house to my neighbor's house to the next neighbor's house.
What do you
For the
think,
mailman.
does anybody have any ideas of things we could do for people at the grocery store, the drugstore? Those people that are putting in these hours for such low pay. I mean, you can't really tip the person that checks out your groceries. Does anybody have any ideas?
Maybe gift cards to things that are.
I can figure out how to talk and aren't here. How do we do this?
You're doing it. You're talking.
You're talking.
Oh, let me make a suggestion.
Terry,
And
how'd you do that?
there's a lot of people with kids who are pulling their hair out. And our neighbors, once a week on Friday night, plays a movie on their garage door for all the kids in the neighborhood. And
Oh,
they
wow.
come and they sit 6 feet apart, and it's a huge screen on their garage door. So if you see any, crazy parents running around, you may want to suggest something like that.
Or you can put teddy bears in your windows.
I've got one in mind. Have you?
I have one in mine, not this house, but another house.
Yeah.
I have
one in the
also,
neighborhood.
if you send like something like a pizza to the staff of the nursing homes, because nursing homes are really short shrifted in this. They are having a really.
If anybody wants to bring, we drop food off at Family Renew, so keep that in mind.
Are we
still there.
do we still have a place at church that we are collecting food? Is there